Hello and welcome back to UI Chat, the podcast where we discuss everything Ubiquiti and networking. I'm host Alex, and as always, I'm joined by Evan McCann. How are you doing, Evan?
Hey, good to be back. It's apparently hardware month. So I know sometimes we like to complain that things are released at the end of the month, right around when we're trying to record.
Yep.
Some months there isn't much. It seems like this month was just kind of constant hardware. So excited to dig into all that.
Yeah, it's bananas. There's a few things that I think as we recorded the episode earlier this month, we recorded a little bit late. I think the doorbells, which we're going to talk about, released the day after. Because I remember texting you and saying, "Look at this for timing." So,
right,
it's quite funny. And then we had Jesse Nolan on last episode from Tab Geeks. That was a really fun episode, actually. It's always good fun to have different people on the show and just to get a different perspective, because I don't install anything anymore. So it's quite good. It's good to get someone to talk about who's actually used it in the real world. So it's good.
Yeah, for sure. And now this month you're just stuck with us.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, just a couple very small follow-up items about last month. We talked about the G6-180. That's one of the newer UniFi Protect camera options. It gives you kind of like a panoramic view. They apparently updated it. I would assume this isn't a hardware change, maybe just software support. But they added 20 frames per second, up from 15. So I assume it's the same hardware. I assume if you had purchased this before, it's the same. It's just a firmware update. But 5 extra frames per second.
I might be wrong in saying, but I don't think they're yet available.
Oh, is that? Or yeah, you're probably correct. Because that's the other thing when we're getting into all the hardware that we're talking about here. A lot of it's coming soon. And I remember those cameras were announced. Oh, it's been probably a few months now.
Yeah, a few months.
And it was like one or two models were now, one are coming later. So yeah, maybe the G6-180 is one of those that isn't out yet. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, it's saying November here for the UK and the US. So yeah, that's good. They obviously, I don't know, they're probably still finalising some of the bits and pieces. They probably figured they could get more FPS out of the hardware they've got. So which is good. Shout out to Inside Wire for noticing that. He posted that on Twitter the other day. So yeah, all good. And then on the 8th of September, Ubiquiti released. I noticed they've gone a long time between releasing Switch firmware releases now. Back in the day, it used to be quite a frequent thing. But they released 7.2.120 for UniFi Switch models. And then 2 days later, they pulled it back to RC, or release candidate. And judging by the thread on the Ubiquiti community, I'll put a link in the show notes for it. A lot of people had issues with crashing switches that just were rebooting and stuff. And apparently some SFP port negotiation problems. But Ubiquiti seemed quite quick to pull it. I'm not sure how it made its way through beta like that, but it's the way it goes. These kind of things just come out when you've got more hardware on the field. So, but yeah, there's a bit of a weird one there.
Yeah, that's interesting that the releases have kind of slowed down, and just like UniFi access points, there's a lot of different trees where this firmware is only for these models, and I would assume it's very complex behind the scenes to be supporting 50 different switches, and it's totally possible that they missed that in beta testing or whatever. But always be a little bit cautious to be the first to update.
Yeah, definitely. And I wish they fixed the wording, because it's confused. It has confused people because they haven't pulled a Switch release for a while, or a release for a while on UniFi. Because when it says downgrade, so if you would already upgraded, it would just say upgrade again, and people were a bit confused online with that because they haven't quite seen that. I wish they would fix that. I'm sure it's possible to do. So, but yeah.
So if you didn't if you would have been in the first couple hours or whenever that was released, hit the upgrade button.
Yep.
They pulled it. You would have to hit upgrade again to go back to whatever the previous release was.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's maybe that's something they'll fix in the future.
Yeah, it's been like that for a very long time, to be fair. But
yeah. Anyway, that's the end of follow-up. We have an absolute metric ton. I think none of it's network hardware, but they're all kind of network-adjacent things. But yeah, the first thing I want to get into is the new NAS, network-attached storage options. This was maybe, 2 weeks ago? I saw a bunch of video reviews drop and a bunch of posts about this. A lot of people are very excited. But there's 4 new NAS options. So Alex, I know the one that you have is the That was what released maybe a year or two ago.
December, I think, or November.
Yeah, last year. That's the UNAS Pro. There's no number. But we have 4 new models in addition to that existing one from last year. So we have the UNAS 2, we have the UNAS 4, we have the UNAS Pro 4, and the UNAS Pro 8. So the ones without Pro are desktop models. They're smaller, either a 2-bay or a 4-bay. Oddly enough, they're powered over PoE, which I think is a really interesting choice.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cool, yes. And in I know people would complain if they didn't come with the power injectors, because a lot of people don't have the 2-bay requires PoE++.
Yeah.
The 4-bay requires +++, 90 watt. So yeah, it's interesting that they chose PoE as the only power method.
Yeah.
That was kind of the first thing that jumped out. But yeah, it is very similar to the existing model from last year. It's just kind of a smaller option. So you have the 2-bay option. It has 2 3.5 drive bays. You can also put a 2.5 inch like SATA SSD in there or whatever you want. But the 4-bay has 4 of those 3.5 or 2.5 bays. It also has M.2 NVMe slots for SSDs, and I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are just for cache. Like you can't put in 2 SSDs and make a storage pool based off of just those SSDs. I could be wrong on that.
I actually have no idea. I haven't watched any reviews of these devices yet. I haven't really had time to watch any, but I'll put a picture on the screen now and a link in the show notes. But someone on Reddit took apart a UNAS 2, the small one, and said it is just a PCIe card inside with a functional USB-C port that can be used. So there's some sort of stuff that is going on with that internally, which is quite cool. But to answer the question, I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't. I don't. Neither of us have this hardware.
No.
But all the reviewers had it pre-release and dropped kind of videos day one. I did watch Clay's. I didn't get too into the Reddit threads or the various details of the internals or all of those things. But I know a lot of people have been digging into the details here. But from my understanding, those M.2 slots are just for caching.
Right.
And I have a Synology, which we can talk about after we cover the rest of this hardware. But I have a Synology at home, and that's I have the same thing where I have 2 SSD slots, but it's only for cache. So it'll help speed up accessing commonly used files, those kind of things. The video I did watch of Clay's, he did mention he didn't really see the need for it. He was getting, I think, 250 megabits per second. Megabytes per second, I believe, just off the 2-bay. So yeah, like if you're a heavy user, maybe that might be nice. But probably if you're stepping up to the 4-bay, you need it because you need more drive bays, more so than for the cache there. But the rest of the hardware, they have 2.5 gig RJ45 for their Ethernet port and that PoE input. That's the only way to power these things.
Mm-hmm.
They also have 5 gigabits per second USB-C. So in Clay's video, he mentioned, like he showed, he just plugged in like a portable SSD that you'd plug into your computer. You can plug that in and then view that through Drive. So that's a probably really convenient way to get files onto and off of the NAS, or expand your storage. You can use that port for that. They have kind of lower powered ARM processors. So there's a quad-core ARM A55 at 1.7 gigahertz for both of these models. They both have 4 gigs of RAM. They have a small screen for displaying some information, and they do have fans. I did see that.
Okay.
And they're available in white or black. And probably the best part of this is they're so relatively cheap. The 2-bay is, at least US pricing, it's $199, and that's available now. The 4-bay is $379, and that's coming, they say, Q4 2025, so sometime before the end of the year, most likely.
Yeah. Pricing is very similar in the UK now. It's like £190 for the UNAS 2, so very similar pricing. Yeah, I'll have to find some time to watch some of those reviews, because there are some little nuances which obviously we're not too sure about. But yeah,
it might just be for cache now with current software, and in the future they'll support creating a storage pool of a couple terabytes worth of SSDs on those. But it seems like that's not an option now. But for $199 or $379, they're nice little boxes to put some hard drives in. And in your experience, you've had really good luck with UniFi Drive and the software and the way all those features work. I know some people have already complained, especially in the Pro models that we're about to get into, because they're kind of lower powered ARM processors. They're not going to be great replacements for a QNAP or a Synology or another NAS that has a more powerful CPU. That a lot of people like to use those as like a small server. So if you do want to do like a Plex server or do some containers or have kind of a lab environment running off that this device is not going to do that for you. It's only going to be storage. So you'd have to look at getting a separate little small server. But that probably helps keep it smaller and cheaper and all that.
Yeah, they definitely reiterated, I think it was at the UWC, that this is all about storage, nothing else.
Right.
They were quite clear on that's what it's going to be. I looked on the FAQ page for the UNAS 2. It says the hard drives are not hot swappable, which kind of makes sense. And there is you have to have at least one drive to set up the UNAS 2 if you want full RAID. You obviously have to have 2 drives in there. And it supports the same stuff as the larger ones like Time Machine on macOS and all those other bits and pieces, so it's all quite nice. So
yeah, and that's I think currently it's only mirroring. I forget if RAID RAID 1 is mirroring, RAID 0 is use both my drives. I don't care about redundancy. I think I have that correct. And I don't think the 2-bay supports RAID 0. So I think you're just stuck with buy 2 big drives and you'll get, the capacity of one of them.
That's it, actually, yeah. It just says RAID 1. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice looking machine. Nice looking little devices. Yeah, bit of a strange one that they do require PoE as standard, but I wouldn't think that someone who hasn't bought into the Ubiquiti ecosystem is possibly looking at these. I don't know. They've obviously looked at that, and if you in the Ubiquiti ecosystem, you probably have PoE switches anyway. So,
well, it is. Sure. I mean, yeah, it's definitely meant to, tack on to a UniFi network. There's nothing stopping you from buying just this, running UniFi Drive on that, and plugging it into whatever network you want.
Yeah.
So maybe for some people it'll be the gateway into UniFi, but more so it's probably for a big Ubiquiti nerd who wants to do more stuff with UniFi.
But yeah, as you said, the prices are good, so good to see that.
And we also have the rack mount. So there's the Pro 4, which is 1U. It looks really similar to the basic UNVR, where it's a 1U with 4 bays across the front. It also has the NVMe for SSD cache. It has a pretty similar processor. It's a little bit faster. So it's a quad-core A57 at 2 gigahertz. It has 8 gigs of RAM versus the 4 on the 2 and the 4 bay. It has 2 SFP 10 gig interfaces, and the Pro 4 has a 1 gig RJ45. Internal AC power supply, and it does support the USP RPS, the power redundancy DC input, and it does come with rack rails. I did notice that. It looks like the Pro 4 and the Pro 8 come with rails. I don't think yours did, right? It didn't look like the previous model had rails.
No.
But you can always buy. They have sliding rails you can add on. The Pro 8 is 2U, full 8 bay. It also has the 2 NVMe slots. Same processor, but it does have 16 gigs of RAM. Same interfaces, but it goes from 1 gig to 10 gig for the RJ45. And it does come with one. I did love this. They mentioned dual power supplies, but it comes with one in the box. So if you want to add a second power supply for $159, you can do that for hot swap, dual power supplies there. And same thing with the rails. It comes with them, but you can add the sliding. And this is $799 for the Pro 8, and it's $499, which is the same price as the one you have, at least US pricing. The Pro 4 and the 7-bay non-numbered, it's a little bit tricky to talk about now. The plain old NAS Pro without the number, that's same price and 3 extra bays. But you lose out on the NVMe and a few of the other small things. But
yeah, that the original UNAS Pro now sits in a very weird place. It just doesn't have the M.2 drives, and that's about it really. And just has a few more extra bays. It's in a weird kind of place. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel? You bought that, it's coming up on a year ago.
Yeah.
Are you sad that this almost feels like Gen 2? It's not really specifically Gen 2, but this is kind of like the next batch of releases. I'm sure you've got a lot of use out of yours over the past 10 months, but are you sad that you didn't get the Pro 4, the Pro 8 instead?
No, because the amount of stuff I've got, I'm already looking at. I think I've got 2 or 3 drives in there, and I'm already looking at adding a few more. So it's nice to have the headroom of the bays there, and
Yeah.
I edit off it, but it's not something that's continuously being used. I'm not really missing out on the SSDs, and also I'm kind of glad that I didn't go for I'm kind of glad I didn't wait and then get these smaller ones, because I'm already going to run out of hard drive space at this rate. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm surprised they've still got the OG one still there. I don't know. It's sitting in a weird place, isn't it? So.
Well, yeah, especially just the fact that you can get 4 bays for $4.99, or you can get 7 bays for $4.99, and then you kind of have to dig into, like, is caching going to help me? Do I care about the small differences between those two?
Yeah,
they love creating 7 options at the same price point or similar price point. So, like, they're just trying to make every decision for a switch or an access point or a NAS a little bit more complicated now.
Yeah, but then that UNAS Pro 8 doesn't have the USP RPS port, but it does, as you said, does have the 2 power supplies. So if you are invested in that DC backup system, then there's different options there. But yeah, it's nice to see them. They did. I can't remember the exact details, but they did show off some of this stuff at the UWC. But it's ages ago now. I've completely forgotten what they said. But there was some mention of NAS devices at that event. So yeah, no, it's good to see.
Yeah, I'm glad they're out there. I mean, UniFi Drive, from everything I've heard and everything you've experienced, it's really good for storage.
Yeah.
File sharing, integrating with identity providers, AD, LDAP, doing NFS or SMB shares, like those, the basics, it covers really well. It's really great to collaborate with people and all that. Just don't expect to run your Plex server on it as well.
No, that's fair enough. It is, just designed for doing storage, and it does that really well, actually. So, and I've actually been taking advantage of the uploading to what's it called, Backblaze. So my system is now at a certain time of day in the week. It will now back itself up to Backblaze, which is quite a nice feature. So,
very nice,
sweet.
And yeah, the last thing about this is I don't want to step into the controversy, but I know Synology has been angering a lot of people lately with their decisions for many reasons. But the big thing was Synology announced that they're only going to support Synology branded hard drives. This was months ago.
I think I remember seeing this. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just walked it back.
Okay.
I think in the past few weeks. So like. Probably not because of Ubiquiti stepping into their space. It's probably all their competitors are kind of taking advantage of that, and everyone really dislikes that change. So good to see them walk that back, but I think a lot of people have already kind of lost faith and are looking for alternatives. So maybe this is an option for them.
Yeah, we've mentioned before, but Ubiquiti seems to do things differently than anyone else, and it does make you wonder how long they can keep that up for, like no licensing and just these relatively good decisions that seem to make them stand out quite a lot. Because a lot of creators on YouTube that I've seen and stuff before, they've all, whatever they come from, I think Snazzy Labs has now got into Ubiquiti stuff, and other HomeKit creators on YouTube have now started to look at it. So it's bringing a lot of people over. Just hopefully they don't make any stupid decisions that will make them not liked anymore, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely some good options there.
Anyway, on to the next. NVR Instant. What's that?
Yeah, so this was talked about at the UWC, and this is a little all-in-one device that is a PoE switch. It's got a viewport integrated, and it's got a hard drive built in for recording too. So apparently, a lot of people that upgrade people's CCTV systems, there's a lot of these kind of boxes around that can output by itself to a television or a monitor or something, and have all the cameras plugged into it, and it's kind of separate from this stuff. So I think a lot of integrators have been asking Ubiquiti for this kind of thing, and they've obviously obviously made it now, so it's a nice little option. There's two kind of things, as you said. There's the NVR Instant, which is, we talk about good pricing. This is incredibly good pricing. Let me go to the US pricing because that'll make things a bit more relevant.
$199, I believe.
Yeah, $199. So it's got 6 gigabit PoE ports and then 1 uplink port, which is not PoE, which is actually good. They've not sacrificed one of the ports there. A HDMI port, as I said, for the viewport built in. $199 is amazing, and you can, as you said, you can get it as part of a kit. So for $699, they sell it as the Instant kit, and that comes with 4 G5 turret ultra cameras, a hard drive, and then the NVR Instant itself. And I think that's a pretty decent deal. I'm astonished at the pricing on the base Instant NVR itself.
It's $199 for just the NVR Instant.
Yeah.
It's $699 for the kit. So if you are looking for, that's probably a really nice little starter kit. If you have the need for 4 G5 turret ultras, they're nice little cameras. So that's it. I've already had people ask me about like, hey, I heard about this thing.
Yep.
Should I, is this how I should get into Protect? They're looking at that kit.
Yep.
And that's interesting to hear about the integrators asking for this. I've run into these kind of setups a lot where there's either it's like a small business where you have like security at the front desk or anything where you just kind of need to monitor their facility. So you have a monitor up with your cameras 24/7. For that kind of system like that, I think this is a great little option.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. A lot of those systems when you look at those systems compared to Ubiquiti, they seem very, very backward in their approach. So they either they have to have the cameras plugged into the box itself, which is a bit stupid. But and you can have the UniFi system just be taking control of any camera on the network, and this will obviously do that as well. This Instant doesn't require you to plug it into the ports on there. So if you've got a massive rack, you can still use it. There is a capacity limit: 6 4K cameras or 15 full HD cameras. So it's not a massive drop-in replacement for a huge CCTV system. It's going to be one of those smaller ones. But yeah, I'd imagine if you're upgrading someone's system, they might have on-VIF cameras, for example, and you could just drop this in, use their old cameras and plug it in, and job done. So, no, I like that. It's good. Definitely a very good idea, really.
Yeah, and it's only a single hard drive too, so you don't have storage redundancy, you don't have a ton of camera capacity, but great little starter kit,
Yeah, definitely.
We also got some doorbells. Keeping on the hardware train here. This was, I think, it was right after we recorded. This is like the beginning of September. This is way old news now. But we did get 3 new doorbells. We got the Doorbell Lite, the G6 entry, and the G6 Pro entry. The Doorbell Lite is coming in October. The G6 entry and Pro entry are Q4. So whenever they feel like it before the end of the year, those will be out. So I know a lot of people were getting a little bit anxious about the G4 and G4 Pro were the only doorbells for many years now, and a lot of people were waiting for the next version. We finally have the next version. So did you see these at UWC? Do you know these at all?
No, these were not at UWC at all, from my memory. And these were a massive surprise. I think there was even a question at the end of UWC saying, "Oh, are we going to see any G6 doorbells?" And no one said anything. So I guess these were still being worked on. Well, I bought a G4 doorbell a few months ago, so that was stupid. So
that's a funny story about that. Like they released a YouTube video, 2 little minute promo. I put a comment of like, thank you for everyone who bought a G4 doorbell recently. We couldn't have done it without you. And it was a lot of people had strong reactions to that. So thank you for your service and everyone else that's bought a G4. I guess we just skipped G5 and right to G6. But yeah, the Lite is pretty basic. It's just a doorbell camera, and it does have 2-way audio. So a microphone and speaker. It has a basic 5 megapixel main camera. It doesn't have the package camera like the G4 Pro does. It's powered by PoE. I think that's the only option. I don't think that they have any other non-PoE.
No, these 3 new doorbells are just PoE. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're in a situation where you can't get an Ethernet cable to the doorbell, run the cable or consider the G4, which is still an option there. But yeah, the Doorbell Lite, I mean, $99 coming out next month. Seems like a really nice, very basic option. But the G6 entry and Pro entry are much more exciting. And yeah, those. Or go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying that in the UK at least, it's £99, I think. But if you compare that to a Nest doorbell, and that's almost double the price, and it's going to have a subscription attached to it.
Right.
Where you have got to buy a hard drive or something for this, but it's such a good deal.
Yeah, $99 for the doorbell, no subscription. It will require either a cloud gateway or a cloud key or something to run some software for you, but you're not paying X dollars per year or X dollars per month to keep that running.
Very, very good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could see this being like maybe a secondary, if you have two doors and you need the nice doorbell at your main door and you just want a doorbell at your second door, something like that. This is a nice little add-on maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But the G6 entry and Pro entry, those are the fancy, bigger ones. They add the package camera facing down, just like the G4 Pro does. It also acts as an access reader. So you can use NFC or those little key cards or fobs to unlock the door. I guess you'd have to kit out the rest of the door with the lock and all the other accessories they have there. But that's an interesting little, it can act as an access reader as well. And it does, of course, have two-way audio. But yeah, nice looking device. The Pro adds a touchscreen. So I don't know if the use case for that is like pin code entry or what that screen is for. I don't think it does like a video conference when you answer the doorbell. I don't think the screen is for that. I would assume it'd be like punching in a pin code or just seeing some information. Yeah. But nice hardware. And I don't think we have pricing for the G6 models, do we?
No, those two have no prices attached to them, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah.
Yes, we will find out in Q4 what the pricing is and when it's out.
But yeah, you are right. The screen has a PIN code, and you could scan a QR code. That's one of the features on Access 4 is QR code stuff. So yeah, I've got to say that I think the Pro is more suitable for a business kind of thing because it does seem quite expensive. But then the standard version still has the LED light, which is good to light people up, but it doesn't have the screen, which you don't really need, to be fair. For a home sort of use. So yeah, some nice options there, and it's good to see them come out with something. And yeah, you are right, it's weird, they're both they're all three are PoE only. So yeah,
and maybe they'll have a second option, because I don't know what when you look at the G4 doorbells, I think it's you can choose Wi-Fi or PoE.
That's it.
So for the Wi-Fi models, you're powering it over like a 12 or 24 volt two-pair wire that you would typically have to like a normal non-smart doorbell. So maybe they'll have a revision of the G6 entry or Pro entry that supports that in the future, but right now it's only PoE.
Yeah, these are looking quite good. I don't know what these will be price-wise. I'd imagine the standard might be $199, maybe $250 or something, and the Pro might be a bit more because it's got a screen and stuff. But yeah, cool. Yeah,
but yeah, speaking of old cabling and retrofitting, we have one last little bit of hardware. All the UniFi Access Retrofit. So this is a couple different devices the whole purpose of all these devices is that it works with the old cabling that you have that we were just talking about. Neither of us are access professionals, so I wish Jesse or someone who had more experience with this was here to educate us. But basically, if you don't have Ethernet pulled to your door and you have the old kind of low voltage cabling there, RS485 I think is the standard. So it has those connector pins on the back rather than Ethernet, and that's just literally all I know about this. So there's a new reader, a new power supply, a new hub, and all of that's available. If you don't have Ethernet, you can retrofit your UniFi Access with all this stuff.
Yeah. No, I'd imagine that cabling it supports the data required for doing the NFC unlocking and stuff. So the reader you mentioned is called the Retrofit reader, and it looks like the other readers they've made, but it's just got the pins on the back. But yeah, RS485. Yeah. So that obviously does the communication rather than Ethernet and powers it. Yeah, they obviously. I'd imagine they probably had a lot of feedback from integrated installers saying we can't physically install Ethernet to every door. Have you got something else you can do? So they probably had to come out with this and do research and things, because this retrofit PSU is obviously something custom that they've had to make that probably fits in with existing installations quite well. And it looks like it links into battery backup systems. And again, that's something else that sounds like it's made for those older systems who, obviously, if you use Ethernet, you'd have the backup system in your rack. And obviously, that's not really the case with this kind of thing. So, yeah, it's got its own custom retrofit hub for do these wide-GAN readers. And there's a few things I noticed. I noticed that remote unlocking from the UniFi app is not supported yet, but it will be soon. And yeah, if you want access for your phone, Apple Touch Pass on your iPhone or Apple Watch, you have to use the retrofit reader. So there's a few limitations there, but it's that's a really good idea. The video makes it seem very easy, and I imagine it's quite simple to do if you've already got the wiring there. So nice option there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and yeah, you'll still need DC power to the hub, and you'll need Ethernet there, to connect it to the network, to connect everything eventually back to your network to control all of these devices. And the hub only supports 2 doors. So I think it's definitely based on feedback. A lot of installers need something like this to solve problems that they have. And I bet, especially because the model number is UA Retrofit Hub 2, I bet we're going to have a Pro or like a Hub 4 or Hub 8, probably like a larger model of this. But this stuff is coming all in October. So if you got some old cabling, check it out.
Yeah. And you can link so with the first gen cameras, so the first gen readers, you could plug the cameras directly into the door readers, or the door hub, sorry. But now it says you can use the UniFi camera with the retrofit hub, you just have to link it through Protect and Access that way. So
yeah,
not directly into the device itself. So all good there. Yeah, quite a nice option. And I was thinking in my head, well, they're just gonna sell this kind of thing once and not really any ongoing services. But if this was the last piece in the puzzle holding back a business from moving to UniFi Identity, they've now got that option and they'll get those subscriptions. So it gives them a sort of extra boost in that regard, I suppose. So
yeah,
and yeah, we got some software. We spoke a few months ago with Inside Wire about UniFi OS Server. This is now EA. It's now come out of EA and it's now GA. This is a huge release. I won't go too in depth, but it's an all new platform for hosting UniFi Network on self-hosted installations, so macOS, Linux, and Windows. And it brings a lot of those features over from UniFi OS devices like the UDM Pro, like Site Magic and the identity linking and that sort of stuff. So it's a nice improvement there, and it's something they did talk about at UWC a few months ago. So it's nice to see that come out now. So all good.
Yeah, the most interesting thing to me is, like, are they going to continue releasing the network applications standalone?
I would
assume
so.
I would assume they will, and this will just, you have 2 different flavors. Do you care about the features you get with UniFi OS Server and all the other integrations with UniFi stuff, or do you just want to run only the application? So I assume for a while we're going to have both.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future they'll get rid of the network application standalone.
I think they will.
Yeah,
makes sense.
But they're finally GA. I have installed it and played around with it. It seems, if you're familiar with the cloud gateway, it's just like that, but running not on a PC Ubiquiti hardware. Yeah, we also got UISP 3.0. So I think this has been in beta for a long time. We might have even touched on it once or twice, but we finally got a GA. So it's 3.0.140. It's the headline is that it's kind of been slightly unified, for pardon the pun, but a lot of features that we've gotten in UniFi, like the configurable dashboard, device manager, topology map, better statistics, improved firmware management, just lots of nice little UI and UX improvements. That's kind of the main things that come along with this. A lot of bug fixes as well. So that's out there. UISP 3.0 finally out.
Yeah, that's a big update. That is. I think we spoke about it a few months ago. It was actually teased in October last year.
It's been that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a long time coming, but as we mentioned a few episodes ago, that we probably assume at this point that the UISP team is a bit stretched, or not stretched, but
There's one very tired intern working on UISP. I'm kidding. I don't mean to disrespect people like that. I just it's very clearly less of their business and less of their attention. And they're doing great work, just slowly.
Yeah, they've got to work out the business case of still putting so many people on one product that probably doesn't equal much revenue. But it's I think, as we said a few minutes ago, it's greatly appreciated because no one else is doing anything like it really. So all good.
Yeah, and I still think UISP is there's nothing really quite like it tied into the radios and wired equipment that you can get. And it has a built-in CRM, so if you're a small ISP or WISP or even like an MSP, it is great software for certain use cases. You'll hit limits and all that, but I do really like UISP and happy to see 3.0's finally arrived. Sweet. But yeah, we also got Network 9.5, a couple beta releases of. It seems like the current GA version is 9.4. I forget the last digit. And this is 9.5, so I was expecting a bigger set of release notes, but it seems like so far it's an improved port manager with anomaly detection and more details. So I didn't install 9.5 yet to dive into that, but I'm curious to see what is added. They mentioned some AI stuff, but yeah, I think more details there for troubleshooting network issues could be really nice. They also mentioned channel AI, for auto channel optimization, which uses the neighboring APs and kind of tries to work out in a really dense environment what channels to use and try to be a little bit smarter there. So they've done AI channel management kind of stuff before, but it's now back and it's channel AI. And of course, lots of little improvements and bug fixes. But yeah, it seems like, at least so far in the releases we've seen, it seems like more of a bug fix kind of cleanup than anything major.
There's also UniFi Gateways 4.3.1. This came out a few days ago. It's release candidate currently. This is for the UXG devices, the UXG Pro and all the standalone gateways. This seems to be playing catch up with what we see on the main devices. So we've got CNAME DNS records. There's support for the Cloudflare content filtering. Cyber secure subscription and all that sort of stuff. A massive list which I'll put in the show notes. But yeah, it seems to be that TikTok approach with the UDM device get it first. A few months or weeks later, the UXGs get it as well. So if you've got those devices, that update is release candidate currently. But yeah, it should be GA in a few weeks, I'd imagine. So.
And yeah, but a bunch of small other updates. The only thing I just want to mention with UniFi OS 4.3 is it seems like that time period is getting longer, where they'll introduce a feature in network, like UniFi Network 9.4 adds XYZ feature, but it's not supported until you get the UniFi OS update. And it seems like that, maybe it's just my imagination, but it seems like that delay has been more common for more features, and it seems to be longer. So I wish they could kind of sync that up. I'm sure there's reasons why they can't, especially with all the hardware and features they're working on and all that. But I wish the day we got the UniFi Network update with this feature, we also got the UniFi OS update that had that feature. Because now it's like CNAME DNS records finally got supported, but that was in a release from a month or two ago on the network side. So interesting.
Yeah.
And any other, just like always, you could go on and on, keep scrolling down the community forum for all the, seems like a lot of bug fix and kind of smaller updates. I don't think there's really anything interesting unless you saw something.
There's UniFi Talk 4.0.1, which added a new phones page. I installed that today. Let's have a little look what there is. Actually, it's the same as what I looked at the other day. I installed the beta for UniFi Talk, and it seemed to have the same sort of features as before. They've changed how the whole settings page works, and the insights page. They've consolidated a lot of the pages within each other, which makes it a little bit confusing.
Very exciting.
Yeah, there was Access 4.0, which I sort of alluded to earlier. There's a kiosk mode where people can, if you've got a visitor in your office building, people can print their own badge with a QR code and get into doors where they need to get into, rather than issuing a key card, I'd imagine, and you can get access that way. And then very lastly, Wave MLO 5 Still waiting for MLO 6. Anyway, they've added automatic channel puncturing and MLO link direction split mode, and there isn't much explanation, but I imagine that's where you can split the TX and RX frequencies on the receive and transmit channels on those devices. So I still need to get a couple in and do a review on those, because no one's done one, and people seem to be asking for that kind of thing. So something I should do, I think.
Yeah, those are two very interesting features. I would love to see them in practice and how reliable they are and how that works. Or is it a 5% jump in performance or something more extreme? That those both sound good, but yep. I think a lot of times once you look at that in reality, it's a little bit less rosy. But good stuff.
Yeah. Still as I said, still waiting for MLO 6, but oh well.
Maybe Q4.
Yeah,
we'll get that.
Cool. I think that's everything for this month. A bunch of new hardware, as you said. Not any networking hardware per se, but a lot of other accessories and other integrations, as Ubiquiti calls them, and a whole bunch of software. And I'm sure next month will be just as busy. So there's always that to look forward to. Before we disappear, though, what have you been working on or doing since we last did a podcast episode?
Well, I think both of us both had a trip abroad.
Yeah.
We were both in Germany, kind of at separate times and not the same place. But how was your trip to Germany?
It was good. For those who don't know, I didn't really talk about it on this podcast much, but I spoke about it on the other podcast I do, Charging Status. But I drove an EV basically from the UK to Germany. It was and then back again. It was 2,500 miles. It was really, really good, actually. Really enjoyable. And yeah, we're both in the same country, but we weren't anywhere near each other, so we didn't have time to.
We waved from afar.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went to Germany for a family wedding in Bavaria. It's beautiful, beautiful area. That was my first time there. Really love Germany and Europe in general. I'm a European soul in an American body, so I'm ready to go back.
Yeah.
But between travel, this project that I'm working on in my day job is like a never-ending saga. So no, I have not kicked around any writing projects, but still want to get back into that. You said did you do a video about your road trip, or are you going to be doing anything about that?
Yeah, the main reason I went was to cover every year they do this every year they do a motor show in Munich or in Germany. So I went to go and cover that and film some stuff. So I did a load of filming in one day and covered all those bits and published them the same day. That was a few weeks ago now. And then I filmed a little bit of the road trip. That'll be out on my car channel this week, I think. So
nice.
Yeah. But the main reason for going was to cover that motor show, which was pretty decent, to be fair. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and you talked about it on Charging Status.
Yep.
Your other podcast.
Yep. Other podcast. Yeah. So there'll be a link in the show notes for that podcast, but that's an EV podcast I do. So pretty good. Yeah. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks to everyone who's been watching or listening to the show this year. It's been really good to just cover Ubiquiti and sort of report on what they're doing, and I think the fact that we talk about it quite often is sort of we notice all the stuff that's happening, because if you're just looking at it from afar, I think it can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes. But it's definitely...
I'm overwhelmed. I'll speak for myself, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely good to sort of digest the information and see what they're doing. So where can people find you online if they want to find out more about you and what you do?
evanmccann.net.
Awesome. You can find my website, theinterface.uk. There'll be links in the show notes for all the things mentioned in this episode, all the YouTube videos we mentioned, and all the release notes and different things. You can find this podcast on YouTube in video and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Music, all that sort of stuff, if you're using one of those platforms. Thanks, everyone, for watching or listening, and we'll see you again next time.